Well, hello and welcome to this week's edition for YouTube. So let's jump into this right now. We have a new opening range, right? We do this because it's the third Friday of the month, and you can see we also do it on the first trading day of the month. But these are the new numbers you need to write down. The upper opening range, in other words, if it's above this number, it's bullish. Write this down: 3972.96. If it's bearish, it will be below 3897.86. So anything above that upper number is bullish, anything below that lower number is bearish. Also got the 200-day moving average, also got the round number resistance of 4,000. We also have a downward sloping channel line, or trend line, should I say, on the SPX, which has been in play since January last year. So 12 months it's been in play. And you can see it's hit it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, right? So it is still in play. We haven't broken above that yet, but the more times the price does hit that trend line, the weaker it becomes, particularly once it starts hitting it in very quick succession like this, 1, 2, 3, relatively quickly. So it is becoming weaker. We could get a break higher from here and above that opening range I just mentioned, and away we go. But we've also got that, or we could fail at that level, obviously, right? We don't know yet. The NASDAQ also has that same issue with a downward sloping trend line here, as you can see. And you can see that it's right up against that also. So we have a new opening range. We don't really have a clear indication as to whether the market is bullish or bearish yet. We've got this downward sloping channel line on both the SPX and the NASDAQ. And also, right now, we've got Bitcoin moving up. Now, Bitcoin's just under 23,000. I mean, not that long ago, we're talking at the beginning of this year, it was down around 16,000, 16,500. So it's had a pretty incredible move higher, and it's actually formed a bull flag. Now, this high here, this prior high or pivot, was the FTX collapse. So we know all about the FTX collapse, one of the biggest collapses, or the biggest collapse in crypto, and a lot of fraud and all the rest of it. Big move down in Bitcoin as a result of that, obviously. So a lot of people were thinking that that was going to act as a resistance level for Bitcoin, but it has broken pretty strongly above that. Now, part of the reason for that could be institutional money, could be a whole range of different things going on, but also it could be because they're changing the rules again, right? They're changing the rules again on how they measure inflation. Now, the way they measure inflation is actually governed by the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They're the ones who have made these changes on the CPI, and they've changed the way they measure CPI or inflation many times since the 1980s. And for example, they stopped using house prices within the inflation number, right? That was one of the changes they made, along with a whole range of other things. But they're changing the rules as of January 2023 again. So right now, current, what's going on. So I've been wrapping my head around what's actually going on here. And you can have a look here. Starting with January 2023 data, the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, plans to update weights annually for the CPI, or like I like to call it, the CP lie, because that's what it is. It's a lie based on a single calendar year of data. That will be important, using consumer expenditure data from 2021. So Sean, I understand they're changing the way they're measuring inflation, but what does this mean? Well, if we look at the old methodology of measuring inflation, which is a 2-year average, so they compare where the inflation is now compared to where the 2-year average was, right? And that will be the number they come out with. But what they're doing now with the new Bureau of Labor Statistics methodology is using a 1-year, which is represented by this red line. So inflation is up here somewhere. When they compare it to the new updated change the rules to suit yourself red line, it will be much lower, as opposed to all the way down here, which is the way it was measured before. So what that will do is actually make the inflation number smaller, potentially dropping it by, say, 2 or 3%. With some creative changes to the rules, right? And the way they change or measure inflation. So this could be game on for things like Bitcoin, gold, commodities, and tech stocks, which are obviously you know risk on type investments, and obviously tech stocks don't do well in high inflation as well. It obviously impacts future forward cash flows, and a lot of tech stocks are basing their valuations on future cash flows as well. So with this rule change and the potential large drop in inflation, that could open the door to Federal Reserve maybe raising rates by only 0.25% or 25 basis points. And this could be very interesting. And it could give the door to the Federal Reserve then, pausing rates potentially, or cutting rates. That could then cause risk assets in the markets to move higher. So this is very interesting development. Right now, I've started to get my head around it, and this could have significant impacts on things like Bitcoin, for example, which has had a very big move up in a very short period of time this year. So for me right now, with this downward sloping channel line on the NASDAQ and the SPX and a new opening range that we've just set as of Friday just gone, and these big changes that have just been made in the way they measure the CPI, we need to wait and see what's going to happen here. But it could be a bullish development, and that could be something that we've got to look at. Now, the other issue is that we are in the middle of earnings season. Right? So, you've got Amazon reporting very soon. Many of the large tech companies that have huge weightings within the market, within the NASDAQ, are reporting as well. So, that's another thing that we've got going on in the market, along with everything else, these rule changes, these significant levels, new opening range. There's a lot going on. So, next week will give us a lot more clarity. Are we going to break above the 200 and the new opening range and become bullish above those downward sloping channel lines? Are we going to have some great earnings with large companies coming out? Who knows, right? So we need to be a bit mindful right now as to the fact that we don't really know where it's going to move. So we do have some bullish positions that we're looking to get into on NVIDIA, for example, right? Now, with NVIDIA, we're taking very small call debit spreads, right? Very small amounts of risk. Now, this one here has broken above the 200. Showing some strength. It was up over $10 just on Friday. I'm looking for this to get above 185, right? Which is not too far from where it is now, just that pivot high here. So looking for it to get around 185 or beyond. Now, it moved up $10 in a day. It's only around $7 odd from where it is now. So that's one of the things that I'm looking at. But again, very small risk, very tight stop loss on this as well, waiting to see some more clarity with the things I've just mentioned. So that's definitely one idea that we're looking at. And obviously with Bitcoin having this big move, right? And this is a bull flag that's formed, broken out of a bull flag, taken out the FTX high, where it obviously fell. And, if you look at the bottom of this flag, it's around, 17 and a half, somewhere around there. It doesn't have to be exact, around 17 and a half. The top of the flag's around 21 and a half. So you could see another $4,000 move to the upside, potentially. So that could take you around, 25 and a half. So, that could potentially be on the cards. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at a Bitcoin mining stock as a result of that. Okay, again, very small risk for the reasons I've already mentioned. So this particular company, I'm looking for it to get above $9. Okay, so not too far from where it is now. I think it could have a move up to the 200. And which is around $10.68 right now. So I'm looking for this stock, Marathon Digital, Bitcoin mining stock, Bitcoin moving up strongly for the reasons I mentioned. And obviously with Bitcoin as well, it's sort of at that duration of a bear market where you do see a change, right? It has had that same duration that you've typically seen in all of the other bear markets within Bitcoin. So it's had its bear market, it's had that duration that it normally has. So that's one of the signs. It's above the 200-day moving average, which is something that is the first time it's done, right, since the bear market occurred. It's taken out the FTX high as well. It was down around 75% from all-time highs. Typically, with Bitcoin, when it has its bear markets, it falls around 80%, so that's pretty close as well. And there's a whole range of reasons why you could potentially see edges which would line up with Bitcoin moving higher. So that's why we're looking for Marathon Digital to have a short-term move higher, very small risk, only $70 a contract, and we're looking for it to get above $9. Okay, so selling the 9 and buying the 6 call, taking it out to March, right? The March 21st of March. So that's something we're looking at there. It's around $1.40 is the limit debit on that. So that's something we're looking at. As far as teaching you guys strategies and looking at strategies, a lot of people love the idea of strategies, looking at that, purely just looking at how the strategies, the option strategies work. But they also do like what's going on with the market and one or two trades as well. So there's a bit of a conflicting emails and feedback that I got this. I'm not too sure what to do there. Now, I am traveling right now. So what I might do is when I finish traveling in a couple of weeks, I might look at bringing in some education as far as specific strategies and how they work from a structural point of view, and just explaining how it actually is put together, and then I'll get your feedback from there. So when I'm back in a couple of weeks, I will sort of the end of February, I will then look at doing that for you, because a lot of people did like that, but they still like the trades and what the market is doing as well. So there's some ideas. That's what's going on right now in this crazy market. Let's see. Middle of earnings season. Keep an eye on those downward sloping channel lines on the SPX, the NASDAQ. Got an opening range. I gave you the numbers there as well. And also they've changed the way they're measuring inflation, for goodness sakes, again. So that could have a big impact as well. Keep an eye on that when the next reading comes out. So that's what I've got for you this week. Hope you enjoyed that, got something out of it. Again, if you've ever got any feedback, send it to support@cashflowoptions, cashflowoptions with an s.com.au, and we'll be happy to help you out with that feedback. So thank you very much for listening. My name's Sean Allison. All the best, and bye for now.